Here are 5 of my favorite beginner plants. Snake plants, of course, low light tolerant, drought tolerant, super beginner friendly. Golden pothos, super classic, low light tolerant, not as drought tolerant, but still super forgiving for a beginner. ZZ plant, low light tolerant, also drought tolerant, very beginner friendly, and I like the shiny leaves. Aglaonema, low light tolerant, somewhat drought tolerant as well. They will also even bloom in a lower light setting, which is kind of unique to them. And finally, peperomia. This is the obtuse folia, but pretty much any peperomia is beginner friendly. They're not low light tolerant, but they are pretty versatile in where you can put them. They're also drought tolerant and really forgiving for beginners. Hey, here are 4 things you need to keep your succulents alive. Very first and most important, they need a really big, wide view of the sky. They love sun, okay? So put them right up in the windowsill where they can see a wide view of the sky. Second, they need to have drainage in their pot. They naturally grow in very sharp draining material, sand and grit and rocks. They don't like a lot of organic material. They're naturally very fast draining plants. And on that subject, if you're going to repot them, make sure you're using something that's very sharp draining, something that has a lot of sand in it or perlite. The best thing to do is just to pick up a cactus or succulent soil at your local gardening center. Third, let all of the soil in the pot dry out in between waterings. You see these juicy leaves? They're all storing water. So 100% of the soil should dry out, and then when you water, 100% of the soil should be wet. Drought, flood. That should do it for your succulents. Happy growing. This is bright indirect sun. This is direct sun.
We prefer to water our hanging plants like this. This is a pot that does not have drainage with the plant still in the nursery pot dropped in. So we take the plant and water it from the top. Once the water comes out the bottom, we leave it there and let it soak it up. If after an hour or 2 the water is still in the bottom of the plant, then use an absorbent towel or paper towels or like a turkey baster and get the excess water out so that you don't rot your roots.
Lilies are beautiful plants with a bad myth. Some people say that you should wait for the leaves to droop before you water. That's never the case. You don't want your plant to be unhappy before you give it what it needs. Check the soil. If the soil is dry, water it thoroughly across the top.
Walmart finds $2 mini succulents. Build your own terrarium, garden, or centerpiece. If you love succulents, these are so cute and such a great deal. Pretty sure I want them all.
If your potting soil has stayed too wet for too long, this is a perfect environment for the fungus gnats to lay their eggs. If you already have adults, so proper light, watering, and drainage will prevent fungus gnats from coming in your plants in the first place. But if you've already got them, here's my method on how to get rid of them once and for all. Now, it does take about 4 to 6 weeks to get rid of everything entirely, including the eggs and the larvae, so bear with me. This solution will attract and kill the adults, but we still have to address the eggs and the larvae. Grab yourself some of this and water your plant 2 or 3 times over the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to kill off all the fungus gnats. Voila. If your hanging plants keep dying, here's probably why. Hanging your plants like this looks really cute, but if we come and look at the plant's view of the sky, it's basically none. The only leaves that have any view of the sky are these few right here. So the majority of the photosynthesis for the plant is being done just by these few leaves. So this entire plant is being sustained by just a couple of leaves. So over time, the plant will decline further and further. Here's a better way to do it. Hanging the plant lower so that the top of the pot can see more sky is going to be beneficial for the plant overall. Now, once the plant gets some long trails and more leaves to photosynthesize, feel free to hang it back up here as long as there are a bunch of leaves down here that are able to see the sky so that it can photosynthesize and sustain the whole plant.
Last time I shared this video of propagating a snake plant, I showed you how you cut it into multiple pieces, place it into water, and new roots will grow. Then once it shoots up a new pup, you can actually pull that pup off so you can reuse it multiple times. A lot of people ask me what happens with the old one. It doesn't regrow, it just starts new shoots. My friends at Greg invented something incredible, so whether you have an indoor jungle or you're that person that kills snake plants, it's a great app for you. It doesn't just remind you when to water your plants, but by tracking all of the data in the pot size and soil, it's actually using an algorithm to learn about the plants. I also love that it has a random name generator, me Cleopatra. Check out the link in my bio for 6 months free. I moved my big aloe vera outside for the summer and it's going to grow like crazy, so I want to remove some of these babies so the pot's not too crowded. The easiest way to do this is just reach about an inch below the soil, grab tightly, and pop it out. Now you have a new plant to give to a friend. One of the common mistakes a lot of people make when they're potting plants is that they pack the soil in. I like to pour the soil in lightly, and then when I'm putting the plant in, I'm just gently putting the soil around and patting down lightly. It's going to get compressed once you start watering. Here are the basics on repotting a plant. You see, I'm going to start by loosening up the sides of the pot. You can see it's a little bit root bound, so I'm going to massage all that old soil away. From there, I have the roots nice and bare. I'm going to find a pot where it's slightly bigger than the root system. You can see it's just a little bit of room to grow there. I'm using a mixture of just regular potting soil and perlite. I'm going to put a base layer about 1 inch thick at the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to just fill in the rest of the pot. Remember that you want to fill it in lightly, and then you can push the plant down a little bit to secure it. After that, I'm just going to give it a nice watering, and you're good to go. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're buying some expensive dream plant online, I want to explain the difference between top and mid cuttings. So with a top cutting, you're not really impacting the plant. You cut right below the top of the node. It's going to keep growing from the same growth point. When you buy a mid cutting, the plant needs to activate a whole new growth point. That's why they produce smaller leaves and take longer to produce new ones. Plants are amazing. Check out these butterworts I got from California Carnivorous. They're catching fungus gnats and killing them, and they have these cute little flowers. We all love houseplants, but sometimes they die. Consider composting them next time. 35% of the trash in the United States is organic matter alone. By composting your leftover greens, leaves, and grass, you're helping the planet tremendously. It's spring and your plants are going to be growing like crazy, and that means they're going to need more water. You still want to check the top inch of soil to make sure it's dry before watering. But simply put, more light means more water. Let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to like and follow.
I walked into my roommate's room and I was like, oh, this is a cool little rotating succulent. Oh, adorable. And then I like crouched down and I was like, what the? This is some Harry Potter type shit.
Welcome back to Plant of the Week. It is time to talk about my favorite plants of all time. Here's how to take care of your philodendrons. There are tons of different types, but this care covers most of them. I keep most of my philodendrons in medium indirect light. I keep some in bright indirect light, but make sure you keep those guys out of direct sun or they're gonna get crispy. I also like to wait till they dry out about halfway between watering. I stick my finger in the soil. If the top couple inches are dry, she's ready for water. Make sure you give them a thorough water till it's coming out the drainage holes. These guys also love some added humidity, so I like to keep them in the shower, mist them, or put them near a humidifier.
Me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
Were you tricked into believing that succulents are the easiest plant ever? So you bought a bunch, realized they're actually kind of tricky, and now they look like this? Here are the 2 things you need to know to avoid this sad, mushy death. First is to keep your succulent in lots of bright light. Second is to keep your plant dry when you water. I like to bottom water, but if you're going to top water, make sure none of the water is splashing onto the leaves and you're only watering when the top 2/3 of the soil is dry. Lastly, cut yourself some slack. These guys can be hard.
I went to Home Depot on a day that they had received new deliveries and put them out on the floor. So there were a lot of fallen leaves. Of course, I asked the employee if it was okay ahead of time, and I bought 2 succulents while I was there, a Hayworthia and an Echeveria allegra. I've been putting some of my plants outside during the evening because they clearly need more sun, but now some of them aren't looking well. You can see brown towards the start of these leaves, like where they meet the stem. I have a lot more leaves wilting. Like, it's not reabsorption, I don't think. But then, like, this leaf is browning. That one is wilting. Like, look at where that meets the stem. That looks so unhealthy. These look unhealthy. I just don't really know what's going on. I don't think that I'm watering it too often. The stem is showing no sign of rot. I'm putting it outside in the sun. What is happening here? Part 2 of my Black Prince Echeveria, whose stem is rotting. So after completely cleaning the plant off, the stem is just in awful shape. I don't know if I can save any of this, so I'm going to go ahead and start by cutting the rotting part off. And it's even worse than I thought it was. So I'm cutting even more. I missed the tiniest bit, so I'm going to carve that off as well. And this is all that's left. I really don't believe that this is going to live, so I'm going to take a couple more leaves off in the hopes of propagating. I'll do a follow-up video, but it'll likely be of my dead plant.